Take it away, Mr. Barron, I think.
Thank you very much, Peter. Look, good afternoon. It's so wonderful to be here. My name is Sean Barron, and I'm the chair of the Ottawa Mission Board of Directors. So welcome, all of you. Welcome to our new webinar series, Behind the Blue Door, A Journey to Independence. Our goal is to give you, our donors, a behind the blue door view of what your support does. Now, the blue door, of course, is the color of the doors at the main entrance to the Ottawa Mission at 35 Waller Street. So we want to bring you inside. We have just gone through one of the most challenging periods of our history. 2.5 years managing through a global pandemic. It has been your support that has allowed this to be possible. Our community outreach is at an all-time high. During the height of the pandemic, we pivoted. Meals were provided out the back door of the Mission. 2 meals per brown bag. People were lined up around the block. Last September, we opened Chef Rick's. Chef Rick's is at 384 Rideau Street. I would encourage you all to drop in, buy a meal, visit. 384 Rideau Street, of course, is the old or the former Rideau Bakery, Rideau and Friel Street, right? Just down from the Rideau Center. We have also launched 2 food trucks. Food truck number 1 is providing 4,000 meals per week. Food truck number 2 is providing 3,000 meals per week. So total, 7,000 meals per week. Hunger in our city is real. So thank you for being here today. We have some very special guests. So I would like to introduce you first to our Chief Executive Officer, Peter Tilley.
Hello,
We have also with us, Laura Robinson, who is our Assistant Manager of Addiction and Trauma Services. And a very special guest, Adam McCauley, who is a former Ottawa Mission client. So thank you again on behalf of the Board of Directors for being here. And I would like now to turn the floor over to our Chief Executive Officer, Peter Tilley. Over to you, Pete.
Thank you so much, Sean, and welcome and thank you for joining us, everyone. Many of whom I've had the privilege to meet over time. These are, as Sean said, exciting times at the Ottawa Mission. We were, like many of us, sort of slapped on the side of the head 2.5 years ago with this COVID-19 pandemic that just came out of nowhere and took the world by storm. And the exciting times that we're facing as we move forward are, what do we do as we come out of the pandemic? I was on a call yesterday with some of my peers. There's no doubt all of us from the other shelters and from other community organizations, there's no doubt some of us want to take time to catch our breath. Certainly, I'm encouraging our staff team here, my directors, managers, and our staff here at the Mission to find a way to take time back for all the time we've given in these past 2.5 years. It's been challenging. And we've been updating our donors on that, but we're pulling through that and we're pulling out of that now, hopefully, as we move forward and look to the future. So Sean highlighted some of our works during the pandemic that we managed to put that 384 Rideau Street, former Rideau Bakery, under construction and build a new social enterprise, the job training catering program that runs out of there that supports those food trucks that are going out into the impoverished communities, that we've been able to enhance our housing department and move forward housing people in the face of the pandemic, and that we've continued. Somehow we managed to get our addictions program running even virtually while providing the necessary supports. And now we're moving forward. How great, all of us. You can see this whole city, the excitement as people are getting back out to events, as people are meeting face to face. I'm on a committee that's interviewing for a community position, and how cool that next week our panel, after doing the first round of virtual interviews, are going to do interviews face to face. So very, very exciting times. And for us at the mission, we're going to be launching some of our pieces of our strategic plan, a reconciliation action plan, how we're going to bring in-house the mental health, additional supports we need for clients and staff as we come out of this pandemic, how we're going to make a case for support for the value of the shelters and the role they play in the city of Ottawa. And a big one that's coming up on our agenda is enhancing off-site our employment and education opportunities for people. That's how you end homelessness, is by giving people the training and the supports they need to move on into housing. So all very exciting times as we embark on these initiatives. But I'm going to share with you one of the most exciting things that happened to me in the last few months. And that was when about 2.5, 3 months ago, Adam, I guess it was, I was touring through a Walmart off Baseline Road with my daughter, looking for things to set her up for her new apartment. And two ships were crossing in the aisle there, not in the night. And this gentleman stopped me as he walked by. He said, "Peter?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "You're from the mission. I'm Adam. I spoke there about 4 or 5 years ago to your graduating class from the Addiction and Trauma Services program." I said, "Oh, I remember you now, Adam. Yes." And a conversation began, and his energy began to peel off on me as I could see his enthusiasm, his excitement. And we began to text back and forth. And one of the things that came out as we were texting back and forth, he said, "I'll be celebrating." He talked about his journey through our Lifehouse program. And he said, "By the way, I'll be celebrating my 14th year of sobriety in a few days from now, on the 21st of April. And I responded, said, "You've got to be kidding me. I too am a somebody who's gone through recovery, an addiction survivor, those who know of my journey in life." And I said, "I'll be celebrating my 14th year of sobriety on the 25th, 4 days after you." What a coincidence. Two people on different journeys in life, two people whose troubled past brought us to the road we were on, and then this road that improved for us. So Adam and I since then have become close friends. He works at Rogers. He'll tell you a bit about what he does as a service tech there. But next thing I know, Adam and the team at Rogers, the employee giving program, they raised 250 backpacks full of items for the homeless, whether it's socks, gift cards, toiletries, toothpaste, you name it. And he came down with 2 van loads of these backpacks for the homeless. And he continues to do things for us. He recently celebrated his birthday by doing a fundraiser for the Ottawa Mission. But for me, Adam and I have become friends. We've gone shopping together a few times. That was a fun experience. We've gone for breakfast a few times, and his positive outlook on life just rubs off on me. Adam, you inspire me. And every time I'm around you, your love for this gift that God has given us in this life we live just keeps me so enthused in that. But I'll turn things over to you, and then we'll have Laura, our assistant manager of addiction and trauma services, share a bit about some of the work she does.
Wow, that's a very, very, very astounding introduction. Thank you, Mr. Peter Tilley. So thank you, everybody, for joining us here. It's a privilege for me to be a part of this, to even be alive here. And I'm only alive and living a life worth living because of your donations and continued contributions. It absolutely makes a difference. I really love to share how the Ottawa Mission has impacted my life. I can tell you a little bit about what it was like, what happened, the Ottawa Mission, and where I'm at now. I've told my story many times, and I tell it from a survivor standpoint, not a victim. That was one of the very first gifts that I got when I got here to the Ottawa Mission, is how fortunate I am to even have made it here and how I'm a survivor and not a victim. That was the first switch that flipped that I still carry to this day. Where do I start? I was born at a young age. I'm from Brantford, Ontario, down south. I was the youngest of 5 children. I had 2 older brothers, 2 older sisters. I say my life started off little bit dramatic would be a little bit of an understatement. My first memories, I was when I was about 4 or 5, was a hospital out in Alberta, where my 14-year-old brother, he ended up dying of a brain tumor. I didn't understand death and all that. I just realized people can be gone like that. It's my first childhood memory, really. 2 years later, my oldest sister, who was 14 at the time, was murdered, and it really tore what was ever left of my family apart. My parents, you can go back generations. Addiction runs rampant all the way back as far as it could be traced. So that's a coping mechanism. That's a learned behavior, and it works because nothing works as well as drugs and alcohol, and it works fabulously until it doesn't. We'll get back around to that. So after my sister passed away, my parents divorced. I went to live with my mother. My parents are very, very sick trying to cope. Now, being a parent myself, I understand. I don't understand, but I could see how difficult that could be to deal with the loss of a child. So I was really angry as a child at absent parents. Now I understand it, but back then I didn't. Where do I go? I'm going to fast forward right till about when I was 12 and I first found drugs and alcohol. It gave me, so as soon as I started drinking, it was always right to blackout. And it wasn't to be a better dancer. It was because it took the pain, the confusion, and all the chaos away. Kind of. It inebriated me to the point that I didn't feel. And it's a learned behavior. I had seen that's how you cope with things. It was something that I learned. So as soon as I added that into the recipe, a lot of my anger came out, a lot of my frustration out on other people. It got me into a lot of trouble. I had a lot of, I was essentially a fire hose of emotion with nobody holding it. And it was self-medicating with drugs and alcohol. So not hard drugs at this point. That would come later on in life. And diagnosis from therapists and such. I was diagnosed with high bipolar disorder, what was called back then. It was a different name back then, but it's bipolar now. Depression, a lot of stuff. So I was being tried on medications and this medication, and then using my own stuff, and it just is really, I don't regret it. Let me get this straight. I don't regret any of my experiences because it gained me wisdom, knowledge. Back then I was doing the very best that I could with the very little that I had. And it got me into a lot of trouble, though. It really did. In and out. I became institutionalized at a very young age. Soon as that happened, it was scary for the first couple days. And then I realized there was a lack of chaos. It was just, I was inside in a confined institutional setting, and there wasn't craziness going on, seeing people used to the extent of a blackout and stuff. So I became institutionalized essentially, and very introverted, even though I was an extrovert. That would progress. When I was 18, my mother ended up overdosing, and during this time, my brother was in a penitentiary, and it was during the same period he was actually murdered in the penitentiary. He was in there from drugs and alcohol. There was drugs and alcohol involved in my sister's death. There was drugs and alcohol involved in my mother's death. If I fast forward you a couple years up until my father's death, my father died from alcohol complications. So it's a very rampant thing. Even saying that, it makes me so grateful that I'm able to be here. Like, thank you, people, for that. So suffice to say, I'm going to be kicking around about 22 years old here is where I'm fast forwarding you to when my father died. Up until this point, I had sworn off hard drugs. I don't know if I thought that I was better than people in that, or I just knew how bad of an alcohol addiction I had, and I knew where that other thing would take me. After my father's funeral, I actually tried intravenous drugs for the first time, and that's when the hole of rock bottom, there was a hole in that floor even, and it just got progressively worse. I existed by being nomadic. I would go city to city, utilizing detox centers and homeless shelters, not trying to get clean, not trying to get help, just trying to be healthy enough so that I could continue to do what I do, cope the best way I knew how. Fast forward till about 2007. I was homeless in St. Catharines at the time. I have a stepmother. My father had remarried when I was 13, and subsequently they had split up. But my stepmother had always remained in my life, and she wasn't from an addictive background. No history with any of that. She didn't really understand it, but she had always been the one that had told me that, like, I think you have a problem. If you ever want help, like, let me know, I'll help you. Didn't wiggle a finger in my face, tell me you got a problem and you need to do this and you need to do that. Was calm, patient, let me figure it out for myself, until one day it was Mother's Day 2007, and I was drinking and using, and I was just like sober as a pin, and all my memories kept coming back, and everything that I was trying to fend off, it just overwhelmed me. And I knew at that point that I was ready for help. And that's when I called my stepmother. I'm like, I'm ready. Whatever you think I should do, I'll do. Like, whatever you think I should do. And she said, I think you should go to the Ottawa Mission. Like, I don't know anybody there. Exactly. And this is as far as away from my hometown as I've ever been. I wanted to say as far away from home as I've ever been, but this is my home now. So I came here. They told me, be here in 5 days sober and we'll do your intake. So I did that. That's exactly what I did. I took the Greyhound up here with a half a garbage bag full of clothes, old clothes, and 4 packs of cigarettes, not a cent to my name. My stepmother wouldn't send me with anything because I probably wouldn't have got here. I got here, I was devastated, and I was sitting in the intake room up by stabilization, and my intake worker was Karen. And she sat me down and she started asking me questions, and I was answering, but she was engaged in what I was saying. I wasn't part of a quota. This is somebody that just met me. Excuse me. And it made me feel loved without even know. Excuse me. So Karen and I had a conversation. It was probably the first real conversation I'd had in my life. I just told me how, excuse me, how proud she was of me for making it there, and, you know, gave me every opportunity, gave me that self-belief. And it was in that moment that I had realized that my very, very, very best thinking had brought me here, and everything that preceded that had brought me here. And when I was talking with Karen, and she was engaged and she was invested in me, I knew whatever she told me, whatever she was going to feed me, what I was going to eat, whatever she was selling me, I was going to buy, whatever, I was going to wipe my hard drive and let it be reprogrammed here. And that got me in here. I went through 2 weeks of stabilization. It was rough. Not rough being here. This was the godsend. The rough was trying to cope with life without the use of drugs and alcohol. And let me tell you, they work so well. There's a reason that they're such an issue, is because they work, and they work better than anything until they don't. And then you're left to your own avail, and it's very scary. And it was scary for me. And, you know, my faith kept me here, and I started looking at things and not trying to run away from them. Started to tear things apart and be able to see that there's certain parts of this that hurt me because they're attached to this. And I was learning how to trace things back to trigger points. And the thing with me is I have abnormal reactions to normal situations. That's what really gets me into a lot of trouble. And when you add alcohol and drugs into that, it just goes really chaotic. So I was fortunately able to sit down with people who I knew loved me, even if they didn't know me my whole life. Like, these people loved me and they cared about me. When we end up here, it's the last house on the block for so many people who have nowhere else. They have nobody, you know, and they don't even have love for themselves. And when I came here, I didn't love myself, but this person that I just met loved me, and they loved me until I could learn to love myself. And man, yeah, when I reflect back on that, it's very moving. The whole Ottawa Mission entering into my life. As I was here, so I was in the stabilization for 2 weeks. I had to apply to a couple different treatment places as part of the process, but I really wanted to be in the Life House. I had already made all these really precious friendships from Chef Rick in the kitchen. He's one of the very first friends that I made here. Every day when I'd go for food, he'd always be like, and the same with everybody else. Hey, Adam, how you doing? How's your day going? It's just like he's a ray of sunshine. And it's not just the food he brings, it's that energy that he brings. It's a love. And it goes the same for all the staff that work in the front, the people that work in the hospitals. It just all made me feel loved and like I belonged and that it was going to be okay. And as I got one day sober, I doubled that up into 2 days. And then I was able to help somebody one day sober just coming into Lifehouse. And then I started to get my value from that. My value isn't all the horrible stuff I've done in the past. Now my value is helping somebody who's trying to help themselves, just like somebody helped me. And then that just continued to snowball. And I started to really be able to look and work on myself and go through all the groups that was being offered. It was such an investment that was made in me, and I was eating it up. It was hard and I was just eating it. It was tough to swallow and hard to chew, but it was nurturing me. And I realized that it hurt. It would be like a muscle. I'd rip and then I'd grow. I'd rip and then I'd grow. I was able to look at things I never used to be able to look at my history and my past without it causing me to go totally bananas and having to use, like, not even think about it. And now with all the investment that was done for me, I'm able to speak about it just as I am now. Everything that used to really hurt me and make me want to hurt myself is now the gold that I have to help other people fill their cracks. And it's a beautiful gift. And it's all the foundation that I got from right here. This is where I was born, essentially. If you want to look at it in those terms, every skill that I apply in my life now is something that the seed was planted right here at the mission. So as I got into Lifehouse, doing all the programs, learning about myself, it's really difficult to look at oneself. It really is, to take an honest look and figure out why it is that we do the things that we do. And there were some really hard points for me personally, but every time that I would go through that, there'd be just somebody there for me to talk to, whether it was another person that was going through Lifehouse or a counselor or somebody on the front line or the doctor, the dentist. It's just everybody's on the same energy. We're all tuned in. This is all about helping ourselves. And it was really, really essential to me. Say, man, the patience, the love that was shown to me, the investment, it just, even when I didn't believe in myself, I knew that I couldn't let these people down because of all they'd done for me. I learned how to, start to manage a budget, to be able to start paying my bills. Even though my bills weren't big, it was like pay for my bus pass and my phone bill. Started off with little things like that. I learned there was a parenting class. I'm also a father. My son's 21 years old. I was absent from his life for a couple of years, and the Ottawa Mission helped me reestablish that relationship with my son. And not only that, how to be a father, how to be a good man, how to put others before myself. Went through relapse prevention, because even though when you take drugs and alcohol out of the equation, things still happen, and you still need coping mechanisms. And I learned how to cope with unforeseen events and such. And it all boils down to helping the next person. That's the only reprieve that I get sometimes from my own mental obsessions, from my own problems. It's just to help somebody else. It forces me to change the channel. I learned that here. When I was in Lifehouse, I was blessed to get my one-on-one counselor. We'll call him Nick. Man, I'd see him every week on Wednesday, and I could see him on Wednesday. Something would happen on Thursday. I'd be like, I just got to make it till next Wednesday. I just can't make that bad decision now. If I still want to use or do that crazy thing that I'm thinking, I'll do it after I see Nick next Wednesday. I just need to get till there. And I wasn't told how to do anything. I would share, ask the right questions, and then a similar experience was shared with me, and it clicked. It's like, I'm kind of the master of all this, but I'm given every single tool to succeed now. Seeking safety was very, very essential to me too, because it taught me that I need a happiness toolbox. I can't rely on one source of happiness. I have about 50 different little things that are sources of happiness for me that I know I can just tap into at any one time. Having those kind of security in place is it's really essential for me. Um, Man, I could go on and on and on. But what was most important, not most important, but it's very, very precious to me is the connection that I made with my one-on-one counselor, Nick. Man, I learned so much about myself on how to deal with conflict, how to deal with other people. If I just approach every situation where I count and you count, I'll get a lot more of what I want and a lot less of what I don't want. Um, and that's how I approach everything. I used to have really, really bad anger issues. Uh, and learning things here helped me realize that the world doesn't revolve around me. If that next person going into the store doesn't hold the door open for me, it has nothing to do with me. It's not because they don't know who I think I am. They probably got to get home to their sick children. Like I'm able to, you know, just have a little buffer zone before I react, and that's the greatest gift. Because man, it can get pretty tense in between my ears sometimes. But I have all these tools that I learned here, and not that just helped me, that I'm able to now share with other people, and they're able to impose into their life and see the results and be able to find the silver lining. Man, I turned into a silver lining like super miner here. So silver lining super miner here. I can find that. I can find the best in any situation now, and I know that I'm not a victim. I'm a survivor. No matter what happens, I'm going to be okay and I'm going to make it through. I haven't done nothing in life perfect except survive. It's the first law in nature is self-preservation. And man, even when I didn't have that, barely, I just got here, and the rest was all invested into me, even when I didn't believe in myself. So after my 6 month, well, it was a 5 month living program here at the Lifehouse, which I marvelously extended to 6. I was a little bit still taking my own life into my own hands, but I was granted an extra month because the mission didn't think I was ready to be as successful as I possibly could be. And they were right. They seen the red flags. I didn't see it, but the counselors cared enough about me. And they're like, Adam, we see some red flags. We would like you to stay an extra month if you'd like your certificate. You know what I mean? I'm like, blah, 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 blah. But I'm very grateful for that. Like so much, many important, imperative things happened in my life in that last month. After my graduation, I went on to stay at a second stage facility for a year and a half. And during that time, I was granted by the Ottawa Mission again, a year and a half aftercare with my counselor, Nick. And it was the same thing, man. I just had to make it till that next Wednesday. Horrible things that happened in my life, and I just had to make it till next Wednesday. Thanks to Nick, I learned so much about myself and how to cope and everything. And one of the very most important things I learned was how to forgive others and not thinking that the world revolves around me. And I there's something I really got to share because it was a spiritual experience for me. At around 2 years clean almost, because I was still living in a second stage facility. A lot of people from the Facebook, if anybody's heard of the Facebook, from back in my hometown of Brantford, a lot of people had reached out to me and told me that the person who had committed the murder of my sister, he was 17 at the time when that happened. And they had reached out and told me that he was going to write a book about it. And he's looking for people's approval to use their names. And I didn't even hear all that. As soon as I heard this person's name, I wanted to resort to old behavior. There's a lot of hatred directed at this person. I blamed a lot of what happened to my family on this person. I was very, very angry, and I really wanted to go home. But that buffer zone I spoke about earlier, I had that little bit of retrieval before acting on old behaviors. And I'm not a religious man. I'm very spiritual. But in this moment, I prayed, and it came to me: forgive others for the trespass, forgive those who trespass against us. And when I realized that that's the only other option. I could go back to doing what I used to do, or now I'm almost 2 years clean now, and I'm putting all this hard work. What do you do? So I sent this person a message, and I remember it with absolute clarity, and I never want to forget it. He called me the next. I sent him a message, told this is my number. I'm sure you know who I am. Can you give me a call? And he called me the next day. And man, I still remember the smell of the mall that I was walking through. He called me and he started talking like, I don't want to talk, but I just want to let you know I've hated you for 25 years, but I forgive you. I'm done with it.
Wow.
And hung up. And man, I just remember walking through that mall and just crying, and
Wow.
all these tears coming, because in that moment I realized all the bad stuff I've done to other people while I was out there. I've done some really horrible things, man. I've burned so many bridges. You'd think I'm an Olympic swimmer by now, but I can't even doggy paddle it. Thank you. But I realized in that moment of all the horrible stuff I've done to other people throughout the years, I realized in that moment I became forgivable. How could I ever expect to be forgiven if I'm not even going to forgive other people? And when I did that, I realized that now I can forgive myself for all the things that I put myself through, all the times that I told myself, you know what I mean, I'm this and that, because I didn't have the skills that I now have. I'm sorry, it's a frog in my throat. It's not tears. Anyways, it was a very spiritual experience, man. And I tell you, it was like 10,000 pounds of cancer was removed from my soul, and it just made room for all this light. And it was a gift. It was a gift, same as even ending up here at the Ottawa Mission, that I'm still trying so hard to pay back, that I never will. Anything I could do would simply be sin at the beach in comparison to what you folks have done for me. You don't even know me, and look what you've given me. The most important thing is my relationship with my son. As soon as I got sober, I knew I had to do it for myself, but I wanted to build towards being the man that I thought my son needed. And you helped me do that. I have a very, 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 very close relationship with my son. And it's thanks to you people. I mean that. It's undisputable. Like, thank you. Is that enough time? You want me to, I can talk some more.
Again, yeah, I hope somebody's there that you have a glass of water or something, and that
And coffee.
I think that you always inspire me, as I've said, especially in these last few months. What inspires me is your give back, though. The program you and I are in tells us we need to give back to those who are struggling, those who are seeking, to beat their substance use, their substance challenges, whether booze or drugs, and we do as part of our program. I just wanted to share with people who are watching that, I'm waiting for you to pull up. I'm very excited because I think you're just the best. And I'm looking out my office, which is here on Bailey, and I see your car, of course, unmistakable. And then I see you. And so I go out to say hi. And what's Adam doing? He's talking to a gentleman who's here at the shelter, who's, I believe, going into stabilization or in stabilization, somebody you've known for years. And there you are encouraging him. And you said something to him that struck me about, what do you remember, your wins or your losses? Something like that. And to which he said, well, your losses. And you said, well, that's why they're painful, but you learn from them. And that's why you absorb that. I don't want to, I'm paraphrasing you, but there you are helping someone in the program who's trying to get better. And I've seen you do that so well, and you make it a focus of your life, but it's more than that. It extends beyond the recovery program. I've been with you several times. We've been we walk in a restaurant on a gray day like this. Adam and I go in for breakfast, and the first thing he says to our server, we found out later she's in her 50s. She's working in a diner, and there's Adam. The first thing he says to her to brighten her day, it's 6:45 in the morning, is oh, that's where all the sunshine is. It's in here because it's so gray out there. The sunshine's in here. So it just lit up her life, and the conversation with her afterwards was just, and same with when we went to the shops, just treating people with such exuberance, you just keep giving back your love or your zest for life. You have no room in your life for, as you said, malice, hurt, bad intentions. I just find you're so inspiring. The music you listen to, always inspiring. so much that you do is inspiring. So thank you for coming into my life and teaching me, somebody who's been at this recovery game for 14 years. Every time we speak, I'm learning from you about forgiveness. I'm learning from you about, I thought you told me you had a faith in Jah. Well, if you have a faith in Jah, why are you worrying about that stuff? God's going to get it. And I was sitting there, yeah, okay, you got me. So I thank you for all you bring and all you give. You talked a bit about the addictions program. Maybe we have Laura Robinson, as we mentioned, on the line. Laura, if you're here on the camera, if maybe, I'm sure some of this must resonate with you as somebody I've heard from our people who stay here is a master healer yourself, somebody who's helped a lot of people. Maybe tell us a bit about some of what Adam shared that resonates with you as somebody who's there at Lifehouse helping people every day.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Peter, and thank you, Adam. Like it truly is it's a gift and it's a privilege to hear your story, and for you to share that with all of us. Is you don't have to do that, and that you're choosing to do that. That's pretty amazing. And I mean, it just segues so beautifully into how privileged I feel to get to do the work that I do here at the Ottawa Mission. I've been here in the Lifehouse program for about 7 years, and with the Ottawa Mission for 10 years. And I've met so many people whose stories are, of course, not exactly the same as Adam's, but some of those same themes running through that we heard, like some of that early childhood trauma and early experiences with substance use. And that's really one of the unique things that we do here at the Mission is we talk about trauma and we talk about addiction, and we do that together because we really understand that for the majority of folks who come through those blue doors, it's probably not one or the other. It's probably some combination of the two, with mental health in there as well. So I think so I thank you for sharing your story, because it really provides some context into why it is so important that we really bolster these services and we continue to offer them to people who need them. So what I'll say is like we on our addiction and trauma services team, we're made up of a large group of counselors, of case managers, of therapists who really work with individuals. So what we always like to say is we want to meet people where they're at. And what that means is some people like you, Adam, in your story, when you came to us at the Mission, you were at a place of readiness of, I don't want to use substances anymore. Not everybody who comes through the blue doors is maybe at that place, and we want to meet them there as well. So we have a continuum of services here that really operate on a harm reduction spectrum. So what that means is, first and foremost, we want to reduce the harm for the individuals. We want to create as much safety as possible. So for some individuals that come through the doors, it's about saying, what can we do to create some safety for you to maybe develop some safer behaviors around your substance use, around some of the other behaviors that may go with your substance use. That may look like our HOPE program or our DAY program. Then we have our stabilization program that Adam spoke about. That sometimes is that first landing spot for people. Their first time to us in an abstinence-based setting might be our stabilization program. So folks can stay there 30 to 60 days. They have the opportunity to meet with a counselor, to do some groups, and to really familiarize themselves with maybe early sobriety, what that looks like. It can often look like a physical detox in a way, but it's also a mental, a spiritual detox in some ways too, of just getting them ready for whatever's next. And then a lot of individuals, like in Adam's case, may explore our Lifehouse program. So that's a 3 to 5 month long program. 5 years ago, we moved to a wonderful location just a little ways away from downtown, which has made all the difference to us and the way we're able to offer services. And we have a real focus here at Lifehouse on that co-occurring experience of addiction and that experience of trauma, because we know so many programs in this country will look at, will say, okay, you got to get your addiction under control before we can talk about trauma, or we'll do the trauma piece first and then we'll look at your substance use. But we really believe the urgency is there for folks to do both at the same time. So we talk about both concurrently and work to create some safety around that. Then some individuals after Lifehouse will transition to our second stage houses, kind of similar to Adam's story, where that provides that aftercare. So we don't want the support just to end after 3 to 5 months. We want folks to feel like they have that connection, they have that support. For some folks, up to a couple of years, having those different supports in place so that they still are very connected to this Ottawa Mission community. Because I mean, Adam's such a testament of, we have folks who, even if they're not actively still involved in our services, they stay connected because this is such an important community to them. So that is so key in what we do. So I always say to guys when they're graduating Lifehouse, you know, this is not the finish line for you. So often it's the launch pad to something else. And the first time Adam and I met, we were kind of talking about that idea that so much has happened in his life since Lifehouse. And we see that for other individuals too. It is the launch to something else. And we are just, it's a privilege to walk with people in that journey and to support them in their goals, their treatment goals that way.
Thank you, Laura. I think as well too, maybe Adam, you can carry on a little bit too, just to what you enjoy and what gives you great life. You've mentioned your son, of course, but I think I've seen few people who are so inspired even at their job. Your coworker Kevin and people like that. We didn't get into some of what you're currently doing, but maybe share with that and the employee piece that you do as well to give back.
Sure, I'd love to. And thank you, Laura. So nowadays, I'm a technician for Rogers. I'm actually Mr. Rogers mixed with a little bit of Captain Kangaroo, looking like Mr. Dress Up. So my job, believe it or not, I got sober by helping other people. My identity is not a digital number on my phone. It has nothing to do with a bank account. I don't want it to be my stuff of my past, and it's definitely not going to be who I might be in the future. It's who I am today, and it's helping people. That's how I get my value. That's how I get my new character. That's how I start to assess myself, not from stuff in the past, just how can I help a person? And it's a great distraction from my own pity party. So now I was really blessed with the opportunity. Man, it's such a spiritual experience today. It's hard to put into words, but I got hired into Rogers as a technician. I drive around helping people all day. I can go house to house to house, and I'm actually getting pretty good at my job, and I make friends all day. And I get so much love from Rogers, and it's, you know, the mission that the mission started with me is now flourishing under Rogers. I get a lot of love just for doing the same things that got me sober with technical aspects, of course, but it's the same vibration and the same things that I've learned here are now being incorporated into a corporate setting, and we're coming together. And I'm sure the donors and anybody watching this can relate that our stocks rise together. It's hard to be eating steak and enjoy it knowing that somebody's over here and they don't have no food. Like having that meal isn't everything, but not having this meal is. And I know people are really recognizing that, you know, I feel a little bit better when I help somebody else. You know, it's just how it goes. And that's the essence of life, is to be able to teach, reach, and help the next man. You can catch the man a fish, you'll feed him for a meal. But if you teach him how to fish, you'll be able to feed him for a life, help him feed himself for a lifetime, feed his children and their generations. You know, I really was basically born here. Not born physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually. I don't think that I'd had a real conversation with anybody in my whole life about what was actually going on with me until I reached Karen, until I came here. So now I get to employ all the tactics I learned here at the Ottawa Mission and into my corporate job, and it's beautiful. I'm surrounded by so many beautiful people who just love to help other people. The whole goal at Rogers is to help people. Rogers itself has trained me the same as the mission does. trained me and built me to help people, to help others. Like, it's amazing. And that's how I build my character off. And that's how my son sees me. And that's now how my friends see me and my loved ones see me, as somebody that, that want to help, not this person that's coming to try to borrow money for drugs and alcohol or this and that I used to be. Now I'm this person, and it's all a part of me, though. And what I was saying to the gentleman outside that Peter was referring to is he going very hard on himself. And I'm like, what have you benefited from most? Your wins or your losses? Like, do you even remember the wins? No, but maybe, but you benefit from the loss. I get my most skills from my losses by doing things the wrong way the first time, or the first 20 times before the 21st time I get it the right time. I'm like, oh, okay, now I can move on to other things. But I gain all this wisdom and stuff, and I survive it all. And it's all stuff I'm going to be able to share with whomever when I'm 80 years old, rocking in a rocking chair, reflecting on my life. And the Ottawa Mission. Like, I love my job. I love my life. I used to not even be able to wake up and think about anything other than either using drugs and alcohol or making that happen somehow. And it was very engaging, and it gave me a reprieve, and it got me through until I got here. So I'm not mad at myself for all the years I was out there. I'm very proud of myself that I got through it with the minimal skills that I had to survive. And it got me here. Now I'll show you this. I had shared that it's a generational addiction. It goes all the way back as far as it can be traced, because the Ottawa Mission now, with my 14-year sobriety, my son he doesn't drink or anything like that. It's like, I feel like I've given an opportunity to break that cycle. And it's a deathly cycle. It's a horrible cycle. You know what I mean? My son ain't going to have to experience what I did. Thanks to you people. That's even bigger than it happening for me. It's, and I get to represent Rogers, and now I get to represent Rogers in the Mission at the same time with it's a gift. It's a really good gift, and I would not have any of it without the Ottawa Mission. I really wouldn't. I didn't want to go anywhere else. I don't even know how I got here, but I did. And the investment and the love and the ingenuity that was shown to me just made me feel like so worthy, even if I didn't feel it for myself. I'm like, these people are really smart and they believe in this. So it got me going, and man, I feel unstoppable. There's like nothing that can take me out now. I know anything that happens, I have all these resources. Man, when I was going for custody of my son, I had to fight for my parental rights, understandably so. But when I was going through that experience, it was very, very difficult for me. The Ottawa Mission had wrote me letters of support. Man, there was this situation I went through. I had shared about my brother being murdered in prison, and the person was charged with it and everything. I know who the person is and whatnot. And once again, that anger it came back to me, and I started to really obsess and a lot of anger. And Karen Jones was running the Life House at the time. She's a good friend of mine, and I'd asked her if there was something, if she could, if there's anything that I could do to help, because I was going through this thing. And we came up with a plan, and I got to facilitate my very own group with the fellas in the Life House. Just, you know what I mean? Just fellas coming in and taking drugs and alcohol out of the equation. What are you going to do? Like, it's an all-encompassing thing. And now you take that out of the equation, you're just doing all this really hard work on yourself. So I just wanted to collect a group of fellas, and we would go to the park on I think it was Thursdays. And we go to the park for a couple hours, throw football, or just go here, do that as a little good luck gang type thing. You know what I mean? Having fun. I'd be showing them like, sobriety's cool, man. It's not bad. Like, there's things to do. You know what I mean? You can laugh without being half inebriated. You know what I mean? It's not so bad out here, man. It's really not. And we started sharing our wins and accomplishments, and it was a really big thing for me. And it really helped me through that process. And after that, I ended up starting to be able to facilitate groups at what's called I don't know if I could say the name. It's a young offender custodial jail, if you will. It's for young men between 16 and 18. I was able to go out there every month and facilitate an NA group with these young men who were going through the justice system. And it really helped me get rid of my anger and understand this other person. Like, it's just I've given all these amazing processes how to process things, and the more that I do it, the quicker it becomes. And it's just second nature. Where something used to happen, and I'd react with anger or whatever. Now it's like always thinking of the possible solution. How can I help? I got this. How can I help this? Okay, this and that, and it's amazing. And I do it at work, and man, even at work, I'm invested in it so much and given all these amazing skills that it's just like, I feel like I'm a magician, man. I show up, and people are really frustrated. Their internet ain't work for however long, you know what I mean? And I'm paid to absorb it. And I tell them, I'm like, be upset, but at the end of the call, I'm going to get your smile. And I do it every time, man. And it's amazing. It just makes me feel really, really karmatically wealthy. It's not a dollar amount that defines me whatsoever. It's my ability and my value to help the next man, the same that was done for me. It's just pure gratitude, man. I'm literally overflowing with gratitude at any given moment, man. And anytime I get an opportunity to help the Ottawa Mission, it's like I'm always lurking, waiting. You can think of me sleeping with my shoes tied tight and my clothes on, just waiting for the Ottawa Mission to call me, or Rogers to call me to go and help and give a little bit of my gratitude, like a little bit in comparison. It's just all pure gratitude, and it's untouchable, and it's amazing. And even from the time I came through the Lifehouse, even to where the mission is at now, it's astounding. And I see the progress that's being made, and all the people that are being helped that wouldn't have help otherwise. It's the last house on the block. And I see it. And these people, man, they're going through the very worst, hardest points of their life. And it's really hard to get out of that. And sometimes you're not ready to get out of that. Sometimes everything works on its own schedule. But during that time, the Ottawa Mission's always been here, and it's been here for over 100 years. And all these people get help for free. You help me. You saved my life for free. I never met any of you people barely. If I have, thank you. And if I haven't, thank you. I hope to, but you help. You help people who would otherwise help none. Nobody.
Yeah, you're amazing. Again, one of the things too, Adam, that always gives me delight. I miss doing the Thanksgiving, Christmas, and Easter Monday meals that we always do, because people say, what do you enjoy about that the most? And I know Chef Rick's the same. It's the gratitude. It's just people who have come in from the weather outside to grab a hot meal, to have a sense of family, a sense of association that they normally wouldn't have in the rooming house they're in or wherever they're living when they come in for a holiday meal. It's people who we can provide a bed to. So many times I run into old friends, people I went to high school with, or people I used to work with that are suddenly here at the mission. We never know whose journey in life is going to bring them here. And there's always the gratitude. I can just hear the gratitude in you, and the gratitude in me too for my journey, where I was and where I am. It's just wow. It's eye-opening. It's just, you're right about when you say it opens your heart up to all you can appreciate, all that I appreciate. So it's very rewarding. I don't know if we're doing some question and answer or not. Kimberly, were you going to fire some our way? Did you want me to see what's come in, or?
Yeah, we do have a few questions that have come in. I'd invite Sean back as well to the panel. The first question to come in is for Sean. We often highlight the success of the mission as in walking those who come into our doors through the continuum of care. Why does the board believe it is important to have an effective addictions and trauma service program as part of that continuum?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I mean, a core value of the Ottawa Mission is the inherent dignity and value of every human being. And, that includes people who suffer from addictions. And it's our responsibility to help them reclaim their lives using evidence-based and integrated addiction and trauma services. Our suite of programs, right? Our continuum of care. And, I just want to thank Adam. I want to thank you, Adam, for your story, for helping us, for helping me, understand. thank you for your courage, for your articulation. Thank you for your humor, your positivity, and thank you for your wisdom. I mean, I am taking so much away from your story. So thank you. You know, and one thing that you highlighted, I mean, addiction is difficult to overcome. And you have to be in the right place, you have to be in the right time. But, you know, we have that suite of programs here, and they are effective. And one thing that, you know, is on our minds and is on the Ottawa Mission Board of Directors' minds is we're coming out of this pandemic. This pandemic has been traumatizing. It's been traumatizing really for all of us. But, you know, there's levels of traumatization. And, you know, we want to help, you know, with our programs to help people so that that stress doesn't, like those people at the edges, those people at the margins, that risk of relapse. And we know that addiction is a major, you know, risk of homelessness. So we want to help people on their journey to, you know, maintain their recovery and not falling back. So, you know, that's a core value. And, you know, again, Adam, thank you so much for helping us, helping me really to see that and to highlight it. So thank you.
Very welcome.
Thank you, Sean. I think we have time for one more question. This one was for Laura, and I know this is probably top of mind for a lot of our viewers, but how has the pandemic impacted addiction and trauma services, and what has it meant in terms of delivering services and also the mental health of the ATS clients?
Yeah, wow. Well, yes, no surprise, very, very impactful for us as a team and as an organization. And Sean used the word pivot earlier, and that we got very good at that over the last few years of figuring out. I mean, our ultimate goal was always, this is an essential service. We have to keep this moving, but we've had to be really creative, and what that's looked like. Is adapting what we do. We at the Ottawa Mission have had periods of time where we haven't been able to bring in people from the community as often as we wanted to. A lot of our drop-in programs we've had to make changes to, and the same was for our addiction and trauma services. So we were only able to serve shelter guests for a while and not people in the community. We've had to switch some things to we started doing over the phone counseling sessions where that had been unheard of in the past. We also had a very generous donation of some iPads, which allowed us to continue doing our groups, but facilitating those virtually. So that was definitely a learning curve for both our staff and the folks we work with. But we came through that, we adapted, and we're still in the process of using those iPads to figure out how to make our programs accessible in the time of a pandemic. So a lot of changes, but because absolutely, as Sean mentioned, like there's trauma that was associated with this pandemic. So we're also supporting individuals for whom this was a really, really challenging 2 years. Some individuals who maybe had a more lengthy period of sobriety that found themselves really challenged by the last couple of years. So we've adapted quite a bit. We're quite proud of what we've been able to do and to keep our programs running, but we've made a lot of changes, and we appreciate all the ways that the donations, particularly the iPads, made that possible to do.
Thank you so much, Laura. If there are any unanswered questions, we will be getting to those after the webinar. We'll send out our response to those with the recording of the webinar. I'd like to bring this back to Peter just to give a few last words.
Well, Adam, I think you need to go on the circuit, your message is so comforting. I know it's tough to get that out, and certainly Laura highlighted that. Thank you to you for sharing that, as you share with me, as I share with you whenever we're together in that. But again, I just find you're so inspiring. Your positive focus as you move through life. Just rubs off on me like it rubs off on so many. So thank you for being a part of our journey and allowing us to be a part of your journey. And God bless. And you and I will carry on next breakfast or our next shopping excursion or whatever we're going to do. I promised you an off-road adventure sometime in my car this time, not yours. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you to all the panelists for your time today. We really appreciate it. Again, if you have any further questions, please email us at webinar@ottawamission.com or feel free to call us at 613-234-1155. And thank you for joining us today.